What's going on, y'all? Movie Man Mikey here, and today we're going to be talking about Immaculate. In Immaculate, we follow nun Cecilia as her fresh arrival to an Italian convent turns into a real-life nightmare when she becomes suddenly pregnant despite being celibate. If you saw the trailer, that's probably not the premise you were expecting. Honestly though, for me, I hadn't really watched the trailer much, so I just really knew about this movie as being the Sydney Sweeney nun movie. I've talked about previously in my Madam Web review how much I enjoy Sydney Sweeney's previous work. I'm also a really big fan of horror movies, but the thing that really turned me off to this was the religious subgenre, as I find that to be pretty boring a lot of the time. So I really didn't have high expectations heading into this, and finally, after watching it, I can say that Immaculate is pretty much exactly what I expected it to be, but it is a little more enjoyable than I thought. The strongest element about this movie here is probably its cinematography for a few reasons. The first being that the shots of the convent themselves really do a good job immersing the viewer and kind of setting up the time period well. And also there are some creative shots throughout that are either framed in a very interesting way or they're just lit in a way that kind of obscures things just enough to still keep you intrigued. It hurts to say, but the toughest pill to swallow here is probably Sydney Sweeney's performance in the main role. I mean, factoring in Madam Web just like last month, this honestly might be my least favorite performance of her, not even like her worst per se. I just really did not much buy into her as this vulnerable character, and this was especially noticeable in the movie's final 20 minutes, which are by far the craziest part. And without spoiling anything, my theater met that scene with reactions of laughter as opposed to being genuinely terrified, and that's not really that great. The first hour in general was really what I was expecting this whole movie would be more as, and I don't really mean that in the greatest way. I mean that in the sense of just meandering around and just a really poor build-up. A lot of the scares throughout are truly the cheapest jump scares I've seen in forever. For example, there's the classic, someone's just looking over at something and then someone taps them from behind coming out of nowhere. So it was pretty irritating with how repetitive it was. The supporting cast here was made up of names that I wasn't too familiar with, including Alvaro Morte and Benedetta Pocaroli. Hope I pronounced that right. And while the former is pretty over-the-top corny as this priest character, I did enjoy the latter's more relaxed performance. All things considered, I'm going to give Immaculate a 2.5 out of 5. I've seen worse films of this horror subgenre, but it's nowhere near the coolness of Russell Crowe driving a moped with a fedora in The Pope's Exorcist. So those are all of my thoughts on Immaculate. I also have my written review up on Letterboxd linked in the description down below, which you can also check out for my opinion on thousands of other movies. And now it's time to get a discussion going in the comments down below. Did you like this way more than me? Did you dislike this way more than me? Did you feel something completely different? Whatever it is, I'd love to get a discussion going down there. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the video. I've been Movie Man Mikey, and always remember, enjoy yourself.